icon of American business, the top tech company, the world's most valuable brand, the world's largest publicly traded company by market cap. This is all about Apple, the most loved tech with a 42-year-long history. But what was it like at the beginning? Let's have a look. Apple Computer Company was born in 1976 in the garage of Steve Jobs' parents, where he and his friend Steve Wozniak were working on the Apple I PC. The Apple I went on sale in July 1976 at a market price of $666.66 because Steve Wozniak liked repeating numbers. The Apple I continued to be sold through August 1977. During the first 5 years, the company doubled every 4 months. Its annual sales increased from $775,000 to $118 million from 1977 to 1980, an average annual growth rate of 533%. Just 4 years later, in 1980, Apple went public at $22 per share, raising more capital than any IPO since Ford Motor Company in 1956. In 1984, Apple released the Macintosh, the first PC to be sold without a programming language. Despite its initial success, the Macintosh didn't show strong sales, and 1 year after its launch, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak had to leave the company due to continued disagreements with the management team. The second half of the 80s through the beginning of the 90s wasn't a smooth period for Apple. Its sales dropped and the stock price slumped by 20%. In 1991, Apple released the PowerBook laptop, the product that set the shape for the laptops we're using now. Although Apple was experimenting with new products, its sales and stock prices continued falling. Microsoft was adding fuel to the fire, conquering the market with cheap and affordable PCs. In 1996, the then CEO of Apple, Gil Amelio, decided to buy Next, the company founded by Steve Jobs the same year he left Apple. This is how Jobs was brought back to Apple. He started restructuring the company's product line, and soon, Apple began regaining its success and power in the technology world. 1998 was marked by the release of the all-in-one PC, iMac. It sold almost 800,000 units in its first 5 months. In 2001, Apple presented the iPod, a breakthrough digital device, which was a phenomenal success. Apple sold over 300 million iPods within 10 years. In 2003, Apple introduced the iTunes Store, which became the world's largest music retailer just 2 years later. Apple's stock price was the mirror of its success. Between 2003 and 2006, the price of Apple's stock increased more than 10 times, from $6 per share to over 80. In January 2006, its market cap surpassed that of Dell. The enormous success came to Apple when it focused on mobile devices. The iPhone, released in 2007, was called a game changer for the industry. It changed Apple's business dramatically too. From 2007 to 2017, Apple sold over 1 billion iPhones all around the world. In 2010, Apple launched the iPad, which have sold over 350 million so far. In May of the same year, Apple beat Microsoft in market cap and became the industry's alpha dog. In October 2010, its shares hit an all-time high, soaring to $300. In 2011, Steve Jobs' heart stopped beating after a lung disease. Apple never stops moving and always has something to amaze its customers, investors, shareholders, and rivals. On August 2nd, 2018, Apple became the first US-based company with a market cap exceeding $1 trillion. It took Apple 42 years to achieve this important milestone. Will the next 42 years be as successful as the previous ones? Apple will tell.